Help people welcome back to the channel and welcome to the first episode of Off to the Boundary. And it's a maximum. Um um and yeah. Now first episode we're going to start doing this more regular and yeah. So I got um the one of the best critics analysis with me. Manny, how are you?
Yeah, all good, all good. I mean, I'm really glad you're doing this, and yeah, it's a sport that obviously we both love, as I keep saying, and I'm always happy to do some more cricket content with you, and maybe invite a few more people to have some discussions with them who love the game. It obviously doesn't have quite the global outreach as soccer does, football, of
Yeah.
course, but certainly it's growing in its outreach. There are a lot more people who are trying to take up the game. Certainly, a lot more leagues are cropping up around the world, and people are sort of getting more involved, and that can only be a good thing. So, long may it continue.
Yeah, definitely. Long may it continue. And yeah, it's going to be interesting. We've got a few interesting topics to discuss. Before we get into that, just like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and yeah, follow me on all my socials. Down in the ticket. Um, so yeah, let's kick things off with a surprising series win for Afghanistan over Pakistan, but context is needed. Pakistan don't send out their best players. Yes, we'll get into it all now. Oh, but it ended after three T20s. It ended a 2-1 series win for the Afghanistans, of course, in Afghanistan. It's a home series one for them. They will be surely happy about that. Like I said, it's not the best teams that played for Pakistan. Um, if we just look in the last T20, I think they played one of the best teams. They avoided, I believe they avoided a clean sweep. Really, they started. So if we look at the 11, if you want to come up, there we go. Mohammad Harris, experienced one. Sharab Khan, Imad Wasim, Mohammad Nawaz, Mohammad Wasim, Salman Khan. Those are probably oh, sorry, I forgot Iftikhar Ahmed. So that's your best. Top order, you want your 2, 3, and 4, not the best. And then young bowler they also took not really the best. And that's the team they played and won the game. If they probably played that team, they could have won a few more the other two probably. But they rested some players. They gave some some experience to some of the younger lads. And if we look at the second T20, look at that. Then again, a narrow loss there, but not the best of teams. Sharab Khan was there, Mohammad Harris was there, Imad Wasim. Um, you had Salman Khan and Mohammad Nawaz. So a very inexperienced squad. What so yeah, what do you make of this, Manny? Is this a scare for
Yeah,
Pakistan, or is just is just is this just like, well, they sent an experienced team to Afghanistan? It is what it is.
yeah. I think you pretty much said at the very beginning that context has to be applied to it. And in stark contrast to this Pakistan team, which is for the most part very experienced, the fact that Shadab Khan is captaining the side, I mean, was captaining the side, says it all. And obviously, we know a few of their players from the T20 World Cup in Australia, where they reached the final, only to, of course, lose to England in what was a bit of a nail biter in the end, which shouldn't have been that way. And of course, Pakistan are going to look back on that match and think that maybe Shaheen Afridi injuring himself really hurt the team a great deal. And there is also an article on Cricinfo where I believe it was, Daniel Rasool, the analyst, says Pakistan were given the chance to experiment with their team and they took it. Will they give the new players time to find their way? And that's another thing as well, because when you make a conscious decision to try to bring youngsters into a team, if you believe they're good enough, you've got to give them some time to sort of develop and really find their way. Not every single youngster is going to hit the ground running from the get-go. And the very fact that they had to bring in a few of the more experienced players for the last two games to try to bring about some respectability after that experimental side, it must be said, were very nearly shot out for 90 odd runs in their 20 overs. I think that sort of tells the story. And this Afghanistan team, if in stark contrast, has it's of course being led by Rashid Khan, who is one of the top cricketers in the world. In fact, I believe
Yeah,
as of now he is ranked
number
the
one.
top the number one T20 international bowler in the world, ahead of the likes of Shakib Al Hassan and several other people. And plenty of experience in the ex-captain Mohammad Nabi also. I mean, he resigned the captaincy, if memory serves me right, after the T20 World Cup, but has still continued to play for the country. And of course, you can't overlook the likes of Najibullah Zadran, the wicketkeeper Amanullah Gurbaz, Ibrahim Zadran, and several other people who obviously who played very big roles, of course, for Afghanistan over the years, and of course we know them from the T20 World Cup. So, in many ways, it was something that Afghanistan really wanted, and of course, playing in Sharjah, it is effectively a home series for them. Ironically, the UAE also was home at the time
Yeah,
to
right.
Pakistan. Big up Arsenal forever. It was at the time home to Pakistan, so it reminds me in a way of being a bit like the San Siro Stadium, which hosts both AC and Internazionale Milan. But without digressing, obviously Afghanistan wanted to take this series seriously because they wanted to make sure that they sent a reminder to people that they were more than capable of competing, and we know that on their day they are still capable of pulling off a shock here or there. And they very nearly, of course, gave England a very big scare in the T20 World Cup, but you know, um, the experience of England sort of saw them through. And I think Afghanistan are going to try and look to go a little bit further because obviously, with a new captain in, a lot of the stalwarts like Nabi and maybe one or two others might also be getting on a little bit. And they're also going to have to start experimenting by bringing in a few youngsters as well. So having the likes of Nabi and Najibullah and Ibrahim Zadran and a few others around, Gurbaz as well, in addition to Rashid Khan, will only be of support to them, just as the likes of Iftikhar Ahmed and Shadab Khan had to, stay with the Pakistan team. And what I really would like to see is more and more time being spent by Pakistan on the A teams, the way the likes of England and Australia and
Yeah,
other
yeah,
countries do, so that could be also be another way for them to continue to gain some more experience. But Pakistan over the years, and I'm pretty certain that Assad, if he was here, will agree with me on this. They've had problems for the most part in trying to develop youngsters because so many of them would, come in, show some promise, start quite well, but then without the adequate support they would need, they'd end up just fading away. And hopefully this time around, given the decision to pick this many youngsters in the team, we will see a lot more of them in the international scene over in the coming weeks, months, and years. That's going to be up to the PCB how they will be treated, and also these youngsters now need more support than ever because clearly the seniors can't go on forever.
yeah, definitely. And speaking of youngsters, I don't know how to say his name, but Rossi's teammate is on third place in the T20 um, bowlers ranks. I don't
Let
know
me
how to
take a
say
look at
it.
let me take a look at that. Rashid Khan, the
Yeah,
number one. Uh, okay, Fazal Haq Faruqi.
yeah, that guy's name. He's third in the rankings, which is big because he's a young pacer. He claimed 5 wickets over 3 matches, and climbed 12 places. 5 wickets in all 3 matches. That's very good. So yeah, and Mujib Uram Rahman moved
Yes.
from 10th to 8th. And standing captain Shah Khan moved 8 spots to number 4. The T20 all-rounder rankings, having finished the series third highest run scorer and joint fourth highest wicket taker. So he's up there. We'll speak later on Riley Rousseau when we get to South Africa. But he is also up there. He's also moved up. So yeah, I think that's finished. And yeah, let's get into some comments. Yeah, keep smashing that like button. Uh, Evening Delboy, be up yourself. Um, I hope you are well. I was wondering, last stream I was wondering who was awesome forever, but be up yourself. So yeah, I think next we will move on to New Zealand versus Sri Lanka T20 series prediction. If we look, unfortunately, the first ODI rained out, and now the third ODI has also uh, um, rained out. So we will quickly speak on that. This means Sri Lanka might not be at the ODI World Cup later this year, and they would have to depend on other results. So yeah, it's unfortunate for them, really, but yeah, Sri Lanka now depend on other results as hope to hope of direct entry to the World Cup. So yeah, um, uh, so So yeah, unfortunately for them, and only the top 8 can qualify, and currently they're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10th. The 10th, sorry, no. Sri Lanka are 9th, South Africa are 10th. So yeah, unfortunately, for them, it is that way. So yeah, and with the third one also being postponed, it's not really suitable for Sri Lanka. So yeah, let me just go back to them. It's a bit long to load. So we will talk on the T20 series. Yeah, we'll just discuss the first two, of course. We'll we'll know mostly we will know the results of the first two T20 ODIs. Sorry, T20s. When the next show is. So your prediction. So the first one is taking place on Sunday. If we look squads wise, I will share the screen for squads. And, come on, it's a long to load. Yeah, if we look at squads, right, I will share my screen for this. There we go. So New Zealand, Tom Latham, Chad Bowes, Mark Chapman, Matt Henry, Benjamin Lister, Adam Milne, Tyrone Mitchell, James Neesham, Shin Ravidra, Tim Shiver and Ishodi well young Henry Shipley. So they don't have that batting depth, New Zealand. There. They don't have much top order batsmen. That's what I see.
Hmm.
I don't know your thoughts on the New Zealand squad.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, they're not. They don't even have Kane Williamson in the limited over scheme right now, and I believe normally, if he would be involved, he'd be leading the limited overs side, having given up the Test captaincy to Tim Southey. So with Tom Latham coming back as captain and wicketkeeper, obviously a lot of expectations will be on him, and there is some talent in that team. Obviously, the likes of Jimmy Neesham and Daryl Mitchell as all-rounders will have a very big role to play. I also, if we just go down a little bit, let me take a look at any more players that catch my eye. Of course, Ish Sodhi has been around for a long time, and he was also one of the key players for New Zealand during their T20 World Cup campaign, as I remember. So this team, obviously, ironically, when you take a look at the series as a whole, from the Test series to the lone one-day international, to the one day internationals and now coming up to the T20s, New Zealand have been in absolutely brilliant form. Sri Lanka knew that if they could beat New Zealand in the Test series, they'd usurp India to qualify for the World Test Championship final, provided, of course, India lost the fourth test of the Border Gavaskar Trophy. But sadly for the Islanders, that didn't happen. And I think the nature of that first test, where a certain Neil Wagner had to come out literally, beaten and broken and almost bandaged up to help Kane Williamson to get them over the line off the last ball. I think that might have done not too much for the Sri Lankan confidence. So even if we take a look at the Sri Lankan team, which I'm sure you're going to get to, there is some
Yeah,
decent experience in that team. I just don't know if they're going to have the confidence to be able to try and, prove a point or two. But, they are going to have to start fighting, obviously, especially with the news of their qualification for the 50 over World Cup now in jeopardy. They're going to have to try to prove their worth as a T20 team, and that's not going to be easy. Let me tell you, because they showed a lot of promise with the ball in Australia, but their batting, sadly, was found wanting.
yeah. I think with them not performing as much in the ODIs, they need to perform in the T20 series. Dushan Shanaka, captain, um, Asranga De Silva, vice captain, Shoti Asalanka, Lasik Kruspel, De Silva, Nando, Kunanaratne. I really like him. Kunana
Yeah, it's
is such a
Chamika Karunaratne, Lahiru Kumara. I mean, listen, when you got a guy of Indian heritage over here, I think he'll be able to get the Sri Lankan and Indian names fairly well. Dilshan Madhushankar, Kushal Mendes, Pathum Nisanka, Matisha Patirana, Kushal Pereira, Pramod Madhushan, Kasun Rajitha, Sadira Samawikrama, Mahesh Tikshana, and Dunit Walalage.
yeah. A few of those last names. After Kusa Pereira. That's not for me.
Yeah, I
And
get that.
uh, wait, let's go. Where is this? Okay, there it is. I think definitely this for me. I think Sri Lanka can definitely, if they come together as a group, they can definitely destroy this New Zealand squad. I personally think really Kusa Pereira, Kusa Mendes, Kurnan Ratne, De Silva, Asranga De Silva, Dushna Shanaka. Those are even Asalanka, great, some great batters amongst them. I think it's always the bowling department. That's really the problem. Um, so yeah, that that's mostly the problem at Sri Lanka. Ever since Since Lassit Malinga retired, I almost haven't found the new gem really. So yeah,
Yeah, I'm not sure I
but
can agree with that because I mean, let's take a look, for example, at the ODI game they played, the first ODI. I think if we take a look at this, New Zealand creamed Sri Lanka by nearly 200 runs. Of course, New Zealand put up their total with only Finn Allen making a half century, although Rachin Ravindra and Daryl Mitchell had knocks in the high 40s, Glenn Phillips with 39. And there were people chipping in, but when it came to the batsmen for, I mean, the bowlers actually for Sri Lanka did a decent job. Karunaratne with 4 wickets, Lahiri Kumarat with 2, and a lot will be expected of Hasaranga de Silva because obviously his style of off spin will be, which should in theory be a little bit hard for the New Zealand batsman to read. Although in the ODI he went for 67 off his 10 overs, so it was pretty expensive and also didn't take a wicket. It's the batting that does look to be a little bit of a problem. And this T20 team right now, mind you, doesn't have the likes of Angelo Matthews and other experienced players in the team. Matthews, of course, a very experienced cricketer, having played over 100 tests for Sri Lanka, and of course, in many ways has been a bit of a linchpin. But obviously, when it comes to New Zealand's bowlers, they seem to have a knack of being able to uncork or unearth rather some really good young talent. But again, it's for me, it's a question of how the Sri Lankan batting can be expected to come together. I think a lot will depend on Shanaka because he is captain of that team and also very experienced. And there are a few names in that team. I think Cruz Pule is one new one I haven't heard of, and that's going to be he's going to have a role to play in terms of how he will be able to adapt to these conditions. And bear in mind, Hanno, that when you're playing in New Zealand, the conditions over there are almost equivalent to that of those over in England, because New Zealand and England are actually on opposite sides of the globe completely. A 12-hour time difference between the two nations, and there you don't really necessarily get tracks that will aid the spinners. So the spinners are going to have to work really, really hard with their variations as such. So again, Hasaranga de Silva and company will have a bit of a role to play, as will some of the seamers. And we can trust the bowlers to do a decent job. It is the batting about which I am very worried. And England's batting, they don't have Kane Williamson. They don't have Martin Guptill, who I think has been released from his contract and is now playing as a T20 specialist in leagues across the world. I believe he was in the Pakistan Super League. I don't know if his I don't really feel too much of a worry about New Zealand's batting because I know that they can. There seems to be a problem with Hanno's internet, but I'll wait for him to come back. As I was saying, I don't really have see too much of a problem with New Zealand's batting because I know that they can find a way to adapt and also chip in whenever they need to. And obviously, with
yeah,
Latham as the wicketkeeper captain, he is also a more than decent batsman, so he could certainly be trusted to. Yeah, sorry about that. Did you hear what I was saying?
yeah. I got what you were saying.
I think you're frozen, son. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, as I said, I'm not too worried about New Zealand's batting very much, as long as they can have a few of their players chip in with some good scores and make some big enough partnerships, they'll be fine. It's the batting of Sri Lanka that I'm really worried about. And I just think New Zealand, in their home conditions and obviously in the form they're in, they're going to be a tough proposition for Sri Lanka. And so, if there are 3 T20 internationals that are going to be played, as sad as it is for me to say for the Sri Lankans, I can't really look beyond a New Zealand series win. It could very well be that New
yeah,
Zealand will win the first 2 T20s and then sort of slack off a bit, and maybe Sri Lanka can get a consolation win. I don't know. But I can't look beyond the New Zealand win, and I think it'll probably end up being In fact, I really don't hold out that much hope for Sri Lanka, to be honest, but I will go for maybe a 2-1 win to New Zealand.
Uh, mm, I'm gonna say, I think because of the rain conditions, I think it's going to end in a draw. I think one of the T20s rains out. I just think one of them completely rains out. Just got this feeling because of all the ODIs that has rained out. I think one of them of the T20s is gonna rain out. So yeah. But yeah, yeah, that's it on that. I'm going with 1-1 with one of the raining out, but we'll of course next week we'll speak more on them if something else happens. New Zealand 2-0 win. In the first two we will speak of course next week on the other last one. So next we're going to talk about Bangladesh versus Ireland. Um, so let so I'm just gonna check. The third T20 is going to be played tomorrow. Bangladesh has already won the T20 series, and they won the ODI series. Um, so so they can they do a clean sweep of Ireland in the T20 series?
I seriously don't
You
see
there?
why not. I just think that,
One.
yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Oh,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
So I don't see any reason why they can't, to be honest. And I think when you take a look at that Bangladesh team, any team that is fortunate enough to have Shakib Al Hassan in the team, whether as captain or not, is a team that already has a strong weapon. Obviously, they try and. They've tried to also rest a few of their stars. I mean, there's no Mushfiqur Rahim in the team. Litton Das is the wicketkeeper, the T20s. And of course, other names well known include Mustafizur Rahman, Taskin Ahmed, and Shamim Hussain. Again, with the Irish team, we saw it in the T20 World Cup when several of their players, some of their more established stars like Paul Sterling and to some extent Andy Balbirnie, I just don't think they seem to be able to contribute very much, and they're very inconsistent in their form. I think they depend on some plucky contributions from people lower down the order as the batting unit. You take a look at the likes of Lorcan Tucker, Georgie Dockrell, Curtis Camphor, Harry Tector. Maybe not Dockrell so much, but the Irish do have a lot of fight and spirit in them, but they need to really work a lot more in terms of batting as a unit and also bowling as a unit, and also cutting down a lot of the mistakes. And we would see on so many occasions they would work so hard to try to get the ball to bowl as well as they can, but a few bad balls would end up being hit just tonked for fours. And as far as the batting is concerned, I think a lack of concentration would mean they just can't get their act together. As for Bangladesh in question, well, they're a team, quite frankly, that is sort of built for limited overs triumphs, but they're also playing on their home turf. That gives them an advantage in many ways. When it comes to playing subcontinental cricket, even teams like England and Australia do tend to struggle with the alien conditions, whether it's the heat and the humidity or even the nature of the pitches in question. So for a team like Ireland, I mean, this is a huge learning curve for them. And they're going to have to really take a lot of lessons from this, going forward in terms of how they can play. And we know that there is a lot of talent in the Irish team. And let's not forget that even after the third T20 international, they also have the only test to be played at Mirpur from the 4th to the 8th of April. But again, focusing on the third T20 international, I just think that as long as they've got Shakib in their team and a few other players who sort of play well around him, Ireland really don't have much of a chance of getting a consolation win. So that should be an easy win for Bangladesh. Seriously. And as far as the test series is concerned, I just think a lot of the Bangladeshis have so much more in terms of experience. It's amazing to think how the likes of Shakib and Mushfiq and several others have well over 50 tests under their belt. I'd be hard pressed to find an Irishman who would even have more than 20 tests under his belt, or maybe even 10. So that just shows the huge gap in experience, you see. So I can't
Yeah.
look beyond the Bangladesh win in the third T20 international. No, it'll be an easy win for the Tigers.
Yeah. So few records that were broken. The fastest team 50, fastest individual 50, the fastest team 100, and the biggest opening stand for the team. Litton, Dust, and Ronnie did it all. They smacked Ireland around, and so yeah, it was 9.2 overs where they hit 13 fours, 5 sixes, breaking several records, team records. So Ireland bowlers and fielders were ordinary. Bangladesh reached to 50 in 3.3 overs after Ronnie and Linton took big overs of Mark Eder and Graham Hume. It was the first time a Bangladesh opening pair at 360 so 50 plus stands. Um, Linton was dropped on 16. He later reached 82. Same over. And that same over where he was dropped, that over went for 17. So Linton does reach his half century, beating Mohammad Ashraful's 20 ball 50 from 2007. And Bangladesh raced to their 100 in 7.1 overs. Just to put it in perspective, that's almost 20 runs per over, basically. Just less than 20 runs per over, which is extraordinary. The only second century opening stand from the team when only the second this is only the second time there was a century opening stand for Bangladesh. When Ben White removed Ronnie in a 10th over, not Ben White, the football player, is 44th.
Yes.
Oh, so yeah, 44 runs came off 23 balls, with 3 fours and 2 sixes. So yeah, and then if it didn't get worse, Shakib Balasan got sorry if I pronounced that wrong. But yeah, he took 5 wickets. He became the first cricketer to take a 5 for score and score 30 plus runs in a T20 twice in his career. Shakib's 5 for is also the 4th time a bowler took 5 wickets in the first 6 overs of a T20 innings, illuminating Lastik Malinga, Fred Clarkson, O'Shane Thomas. So yeah, taking 5 wickets in 6 overs. That is madness. That is absolute madness. Especially to think you can only bowl a maximum of 3 overs. So yeah, or 3 overs in the power play. Really. So yeah, I think we're both going with a series one for Bangladesh. And then
Clean
a
sweep.
clean sweep.
Clean sweep.
Clean sweep. And then in the test, Bangladesh 2-1. Really, it's only one test match, but I think they're going to win. It's either way. And so Yeah, next I'm going to talk about Africa versus West Indies and what series. Uh, what a series. This was. As so we'll talk about the ODI. So the first ODI rained out, and then the second ODI was just the Malaysian job from West Indies, scoring 355 runs in their 50 overs and bowling us out for 287. And then the third ODI, of course, we won. West Indies did not bat well. That they scored 260 runs with and then we chased that pretty easily, but it was mostly down to one man. Then you go to T20. So first T20 was was moved down from 20 overs to 11 overs as of course for the rain. I think almost about 2 hours of rain before the skies cleared up. So played 11 overs. If you know the West Indies team, most of them are used to a T10 that they play in the Pakistani League, I believe it is. T10 tournaments, so they used to that, and they used that pretty well. It did come to the last over, but yeah, I think 11 overs, getting 131. If it was a normal T20 match, you would be like, oh, that's fantastic. But it's only 11 overs. West Indies, I wouldn't say they were in the stride at a point, but it came that fall off a bit later on with Mangala taking 2 wickets in a row. Odin Smith and Hussein and the run out of Shepherd. We'll talk on Shepherd, but more. And as soon as those wickets fall, it was like potentially they can do it. So yeah, and then just good work from Chase and Powell to get them over the line. It was a tight victory. Then we moved to the second T20. That now this T20, if you ever want to see a T20 match and you want to see runs, any cricket match, and you want to see runs, loads of sixes, you don't enjoy Test cricket. Let's say you're one of those people that want Test cricket to disappear. You don't like Test cricket. You absolutely adore the short format game. Then this is the game for you. If a team hits 258 runs, they to lose that T20 and convincingly actually lose it to be toppled to 259. If a team reaches 259 runs, that's let me figure out the run rate, but that's insane. 200 runs in 20 overs. If you ever hear of it, a match like that, please call me. I would love to go and watch it. Because it was exceptional. Let me see. 250 is 12 runs per over. Now to maintain 12 runs per over is mad. So well done to us. And then this third ODI that's happened yesterday. Now this is where I want to speak. This is where I want to have my say. So they put on 220. Fair enough. Shouldn't even have gotten that. It was in the last 2 overs. They got something like, what is it? In the last 2 overs. So they were on 186. Hicks went, no, sorry. Um, where is it? Sorry. Yeah. They, in the 15th over, they were on 161. So you are telling me in four, 4.2 overs. So to put that in perspective, that is four, eight. That's 26 balls. From 26 balls, they had 41 runs. 41 runs. Are you mad? 41. No, sorry, I'm wrong. 59. But still, that's mad. How? How? Surely you see them out, you see 200, just under 200. Cause, no, wait, sorry. My math is way out. They got 220. 60, sorry. Apologies. 60, 59. 59 was, that's even mad. That's more. That's what my brain wants me to know. And then, if we look at this, how we lost our wickets. Is actually insane. Because it's only one man. I took the wickets. And his name is Alzari Joseph. Only one man took it. Holder took one wicket, but the rest was Joseph. And for me, if you look at the wickets, how we got out, Henrik Clausen, one ball it's a six, the next ball is out. This new coach and the new philosophy is called Brave Cricket. Now, Brave Cricket is where you are explosive. Now, I get you want to be explosive and that, but being explosive doesn't mean you try to hit a six or four every ball. Explosive means you get yourself in, and while you're getting yourself in, you hit a few boundaries, gain some confidence, and when you're ready, you hit them out of the park. Get to 30, get to 40. If you go out before you're 50, that's no problem. You got 40 runs. You put 40 runs. If you look at Clausen, first ball, he hits it out of the park for six. Second ball is gone. Your strike rate might be 300, but if you look at the amount of balls you faced, it's 2. Right? You need to be sensible. Be sensible when you play Brave. Look at England. Look how England play in the T20 World Cup. You didn't see Josh Butler just go out. First ball, Huang. It took first 2 overs. England always started so. Money you can agree or disagree. But you guys always started a bit slow. Let's say first 3 overs. And then after that, you smack them. You literally smack them out of the park. Josh Butler literally smacks you out of the park, and you need to go, and they need to get on your ball. That's sensible cricket. That's brave cricket. Not every time you're smacking the ball out of the stadium, trying to do that every time. No, that's not brave cricket. But yeah, that's my piece said on the Indies thing. Darren, do you want to go?
Yeah. Let me just start by taking a look at the second ODI, which of course was effectively the first ODI because the real first ODI had been abandoned. I do remember watching half of that ODI, and I remember seeing the West Indies end up getting to 335 for 8. I think they actually started really well in terms of trying to target the debutant bowler Gerald Kotzer. who actually did well in his debut, taking 3 for 57, even if he was a bit expected. Fortuan also conceded 57 from his 10, took 2 wickets. Marco Jansen and Lungi Ngidi were exceptionally expensive and never really were able to trouble the batsmen that much, or the batters that much. And the story of that was basically a case of the batsman getting a start, not quite able to adapt to the spin of Fortuin and Tabrez Shamsi. And then, of course, Kotze came back and was able to bowl really, really well. But credit must be given to Shai Hope for a brilliant captain's knock. His 100 came off, if we take a look at the stats, that came off um, 104 balls, so his strike rate was at less than the run of ball. His 50 was off 59, but then once freed from the shackles after that landmark, he started to cut loose with 28 runs coming off the next 11 balls of his, and he really, with 7 sixes, took the West Indies to a really, really, really challenging total. And I do remember watching and seeing Tender Bavuma, the captain of South Africa, really playing what probably should be his best ODI innings ever.
Yeah,
7 sixes and 11
he
fours in his
played an amazing.
144. He definitely wanted to. Yeah, I know you've got some reservations on him as a captain, but as a batsman, I think it's fair to say that he's definitely proving his worth to the team. And obviously, with performances like that, as well as in the Test series, the team can only, look up to him, sort of the way they did to the likes of Graham Smith and other people who took on the captaincy as batsmen and proved their worth. I think of, Hashim Amla, A.B. de Villiers, and, several others. But again, I believe Rickleton was making his debut, as was de and neither of them were able to really continue that much. It just needed one batsman to really help them get settled in, and I think maybe Markram's absence from that match told a bit, because after that you had Erasmus van der Dussen and Tristan Stubbs, who didn't offer any support. Jansen stayed for a bit, but wasn't really effective. Ngidi was able to club a 6, but that was pretty much it. And you felt for Tender Bavuma, but you also had to tip your cap off to Shai Hope and the bowlers, Joseph and Hussein in particular, who had task and kept, attacking the batsmen and and forcing them to make some tough choices. And I think the overall lack of experience in the batting lineup told for South Africa in the end. So it was a question basically of Hope with his captaincy and his batting winning the Man of the Match award there. And if we take a look at the second ODI, obviously we're going to see sorry about the poor strength of my internet connection. I'm going to have to really change it a little bit. But we are going to the third ODI, and basically a question of the West Indies also starting okay enough with King at the top of the order, and then Puran and Holder also chipping in with useful 30s. But again, no real big partnerships except for the second wicket. And it was very much a case of, partnerships being broken willy-nilly. And then, of course, the perfect cue for Heinrich Klaassen to come in. No, wait a minute. What am I talking about? Yeah. That is, of course, the match I'm talking about. That is, of course, the third ODI. And Klaassen, of course, came in and clubbed them all around the park, 5 sixes, 15 fours. And it just goes to show that as long as you have a batsman who's able to really take advantage of it, but also more importantly, another batsman or two who can stay in with more than valuable runs themselves, the way Marco Jansen did. That sort of says it all. That sixth wicket partnership of 103 between David Miller and Klaassen. Of course, if you take a look at that, Klaassen was the one who was, hitting everything, and then David Miller got out, and then Jansen came in and clubbed a few more. No, wait a minute. That was actually the partnership was between Klaassen and Marco Jansen. I read that wrong. So that really was the partnership which took the match away from the West Indies. And the way they were hitting, the way they sort of were able to get to the line of the spinners and also attack the seamers who came back. The question of really when it would happen, and even if the game was, I mean, the fact that they got it in 29.3 overs, less than 30 overs, it says it all. And this particular match and series underlines the importance of having a really strong batting unit and having at least 2 or 3 players who can take responsibility. And we also see that in the T20 game. I'm going to talk a little bit about the game, the second T20 innings as well, because one thing I'll say about South Africa is the history has shown that they are really good. I mean, they have a record, or at least a knack of chasing down some really big targets. Of course, the first one, as you said, it was truncated to 11 overs, and this definitely showed some of the batsmen at their best. David Miller, of course, with that brilliant innings of 48 off just 22 balls. He deserved a 50, but sadly, it wasn't to be. And of course, every single bowler getting at least 1 wicket. A couple of them had 2. And then, of course, this was also in many ways a nail biter. You mentioned Magala taking 2 wickets and 2 balls, and Parnell running at Romario Shepherd. That did provide a few ruffling of feathers. I think the good work might have been done in the earlier overs when, in addition to Powell, it was King and Charles who also were hitting as well as they did. The former skipper, Nicholas Pooran, not really doing too well, but Powell obviously coming in and clubbing 5 sixes and a 4 in his magnificent knock of 43 off 18, rightly man of the match. And it was a question of like the damage being done in this case in the beginning and the middle overs, because again, when you come back as a bowling unit, you've got to be really, really careful that not to make any mistakes with the ball. And sadly, when you leave yourself too much to do as either a bowling or a batting unit, you could be in trouble. Now, for the second T20, oh boy, that was a real doozy. And we're going to get to this right now. For this particular game, I don't know if you were born when in 2006, when Australia toured South Africa. At that time, Ricky Ponting and Graham Smith were captains. I don't know. Hanno? There seriously seems to be a problem with the internet connection. I'm not too sure that people can really hear what we're saying on playback.
Yeah.
But Hanno, are you there? Sir?
1 year before my
right.
Before
so I was just saying. Oh, right. So I take a look at the scorecard. West Indies batted first, and obviously they lost a wicket very, very early with Brandon King falling. And then, of course, it was left to Johnson Charles with a magnificent century off just 46 balls, 11 sixes and 10 fours, and Kyle Mayers also at the top of the order doing well. And later on, Romario Shepherd came in and clubbed the ball a bit, as did the skipper, Rodman Powell. So for that, take a look at the Australian innings. Didn't lose a wicket, but they obviously had a 97-run partnership for the opening wicket between Adam Gilchrist and Simon Katich. 55 for Gilchrist and 79 for Katich. And then, of course, that was cue for the skipper, Ricky Ponting, to come in and take centre stage with a breezy knock of 164 of 105 balls, 9 sixes and 13 fours. Michael Hussey, of course, chipped in with a 51 ball, 81, 3 sixes and 9 fours. And Andrew Simons, near the end, clubbed the ball around a bit. The late Andrew Simons, it must be said, may he rest in peace. And South Africa racked up a target of 434 for 4 from there. Now, you would think that that would be a daunting target, but then this is South Africa. You've got some really destructive batsmen of your own. Enter Quinton de Kock, former skipper and current wicketkeeper. He and Reza Hendricks with that part of 152 for 1, 152, which was only broken when they got 152, of course. 8 sixes and 9 fours for de Kock, 2 sixes and 11 fours for Hendricks. That really, in many ways, was the foundation which took the match away, started to take the match away. And it was helpful, of course, that Markram was able to come in near the end and really start to hit a little bit. So they didn't lose the wicket earlier on. But in this game in 2006, if you take a look at the scorecard, I believe it was Graham Smith who was captaining the team. And of course, he and Hendrik Dippenaar were opening, but Dippenaar got out very early in the second over. But that was the stage for Herschel Gibbs to come in. Herschel Herman Gibbs, that is, to come in. And his knock of 175 off 111 balls, he talks in his autobiography of how he got himself fired up to play for that by drinking a couple of cans of Red Bull. Now, I will say right now to young children, Red Bull is not suitable for you. Stay away from that. It's very powerful stuff. And if you are an athlete who is consuming Red Bull, please drink it responsibly, or any other energy drink for that matter. But then from 3 for 1 to 190 for 2, that 187-run partnership took the match away from Australia. And then we saw some more people chipping in. Callis could only get 20, a bit of failure for the big all-rounder, the legendary all-rounder. A.B. de Villiers only got 14. But then wicketkeeper Mark Boucher chipped in with a 43-ball 50. And then some important contributions from the likes of Justin Kemp and Johan van der Vath, and even Roger Telemachus was able to hit a bit. And they ended up squeaking through in the end. Off the second to last ball, 9 wickets down. So you see the similarities almost in between that match and this match, except South Africa were able to win with plenty of wickets and more than an over to spare. But it's fair to say that the spirit of that match in 2006 really, the spirit of that particular game in question really helped the team in some ways. They remembered that and they knew that they were able to chase it. So that sort of helped them get through there. And then, of course, you have the third T20 International, which was, of course, the series decider. Here as well, everyone, with the exception of Johnson Charles, who surprisingly failed in the third T20, we had almost everyone hitting at least a boundary or two. Mention must be made to Nicholas Puran and, of course, Romario Shepherd near the end, 44 of 22 at exactly 200. That propelled them to 220 for 8. No real standout bowlers, but Ngidi and Rabada and Norche taking 2 each. And as you mentioned, Hanno, it was a question of Alzari Joseph being the leading man, taking 5 for 40. And at the top, Hendricks really got going. Rousseau also played his part. Aidan Markram also came in and chipped in. But again, those key wickets at the late stage of the game pretty much slowed them down. So it's amazing when you consider T20 cricket, how a lot of the strategies and a lot of the mindsets from both T20 and ODI cricket come into play. And you talk about brave cricket. I do agree with you, because sometimes you've got to have some balance in the way you play your cricket in every single format, be it tests or ODIs or T20s. You've got to sort of play a little bit intelligently. And I think we might need to consider giving Klaassen a bit of slack, because if memory serves me right, he also happens to be he's not even he can't cut him some slack. You can't, as you said, obviously hitting a 6 and then getting out is not really the best. Yeah, as I said, with regard to Klaassen, hitting a 6 and then getting out is not the best way to approach getting towards a target. But look, I think for what it's worth, this is very much a new team with new leadership. And obviously, Shukri Conrad is still quite new in the job, so he will want to obviously ask for some more time to develop things. And there is still a lot to like about South Africa as a test team. As a limited overs team and a T20 team, there is still a lot of work to be done. And hopefully once they get their act together as a team and really start to play a little bit better, a bit more consistently, they could be a force to be reckoned with. But there is still a lot of work that has to be done. And I think, as you were saying, the fact that Tender Bavuma is not in the T20 team anymore can really only be a little bit helpful. But having said that, he has improved as a batsman since giving up the T20 captaincy.
I I think it can be good, but without captaincy. Sorry. So yeah, but we're going to speak on us as the Netherlands. I think we'll do tomorrow. We will discuss the IPL. Because I know you need to go soon, so then it will better just to discuss it tomorrow. Um, so so yeah. So let's quickly discuss Netherlands as South Africa. Of course, we failed to beat them at the World Cup to qualify for the semi-finals. And yeah, I think it's time for some revenge. Um, it won't be the best revenge, but it will be at least some revenge. I'm sorry, I got the hiccups now. Um, so so yeah, I think. Uh, mm, mhm. So yeah, like I said, better of range really. Um, yeah, it's going to be interesting. I will look at our squad. I don't know really much about the Netherlands squad. Let's see our squad. We need to win. Of course, we are currently 10th in the rankings. So so yeah, Temba Bavuma is captain of this. Quentin de Kock, Björn Fortuin, Lisa Hendricks, Marco Jansen, Henrik Clausen, Magala, Markram, Miller, Ngidi, Nokia, Wayne Parnell, Kachis Radaba, Trabe Shamsi, and Rusty van Dissen. Oh, sorry.
You okay?
So, nah, got the hiccups, that's all. so, so yeah. But I think that's a good squad. Really, we should be able to beat them. Really, we're going to be confident with them beating us at the World Cup. So yeah, how do you see these two matches going?
Yeah, well, I'm just taking a look at the Dutch squad right now, and I think you've mentioned the South African squad. I believe they had played the first ODI, but that was abandoned fairly quickly due to rain, if I'm not wrong. So that was, I think that South African team was very experimental. The likes of Kyle Verreynne and a few
That
others came in and
yeah,
played, and Keshav
that's
Maharaj was captaining that team.
yeah,
Now,
that's only
now of
what
course
I was
it's
maybe in November, October.
yeah. Ah, right. So this series is just two one-day internationals, yes?
Yes.
Yeah, just two one-day internationals. So here is the Netherlands Squad, and several names, of course, are recognizable from the World Cup. Scott Edwards, of course, is the wicketkeeper and captain. Aussie by origin, but obviously playing for the Netherlands, and several other players. I do believe that in addition to the ex Protea Roelof van der Merwe, there are quite a few players who do have South African roots. I'm just trying to look for them if possible. I know that Bastian de Leyde is the son of former Dutch international Timothy de Leyde, who I remember from the as early as the 1996 World Cup. and obviously not Van Meekeren. But yeah, I mentioned Van der Merwe. I think even no, it's not Freddie Klassen either. Yeah, Colin Ackerman is what I'm looking at. Born in 1991 in George, South Africa, and obviously he played for the South Africa under-19 side, but he ended up giving up his South African qualification to sign with Leicestershire and taking advantage of his EU passport. And of course, you know about Van der Merwe having played for the Proteas not too long ago. So even this Netherlands team is also fairly experienced in a way, and they have some players who have been around the block on the block and have played for several years. And obviously, how they're going to perform as a team will basically be determined by how they perform as a bowling and a batting unit, and how they're able to, really work over the South African team. Yeah, but this South African team in question will be, of course, at full strength, and I really can't see beyond a South African win in both these two games, because obviously when it comes to the ODIs, it will be a slightly longer format than the T20 format, and South Africa just have a great deal more experience. And bear in mind that that was the T20 World Cup in which the Netherlands.
I think man is gone. Oh, I think it's him. Just check. Yeah, it's him. So yeah, but like I said, this is the longer format. It's not a T20 where we were knocked out, so I think we will win. He is back. Just a check. I'm saying for his camera to appear. There we go.
Yeah, once again, the issues have completely affected both me and you. I just don't know if there's any load shedding going on where you are, but for me, I think around about this time I have some issues. But as I was saying, I think the Netherlands are going to be coming up against a full-strength South African team, and as experienced as the Dutch may be, I just don't think that they will necessarily have it in them to last the full 50 overs when they're batting, or really be able to bowl South Africa out. Bear in mind, of course, that in the shortened T20 format, it's a high-pressure, high-stakes environment. So the Netherlands obviously were on top of their game, and I think South Africa just felt a bit of the pressure in many ways. But this is a different setting, and I think obviously this won't change the result of that game in that World Cup. It won't send South Africa. It won't go back in time and send South Africa through to the semi-finals. But this is another series of games which South Africa will need to play to get their confidence a bit higher. And it looks as though they're going to have to face qualifiers for the ODI World Cup themselves. So they're going to need all of the practice that they can get, especially if they're going to be playing the Netherlands or teams of the Netherlands ilk in the qualifiers. I can't see beyond a South African win here.
Yeah, and definitely. I'm just going to check the men's ranking. It's the top 8 that's qualifying. I believe. Where is it? Are we in the top 8? I don't think we are. Let me just go back. Yeah, points table. We are 10th. We need to get ahead of the West Indies. We're currently 10 points behind them. I don't know how much is a win. When is it? I don't know. Do you know, Manny?
Why don't you show the table? So, yeah, can you share the table, please? Maybe I can figure that out for you.
Let me share the table. Okay. Okay, so when is 10 points? Okay, so wait, there. It says it there down below. So when is 10 match?
Yes.
no result or abandon is 5 points. So basically, just beat them twice and move through. Like, just beat beat the beat the Netherlands twice, and we will win. We will go to the World Cup directly. Um,
Yeah, but
Ireland,
yeah, again, things
yeah,
things are easier said than done, though, so you have to be very careful about that. And like, so as it stands, the top 8 go through automatically. Yes.
yeah, top eight. So yeah, even if we win just one of those games, we should go through on net run right. Sorry. So yeah, I don't want to see that, but we're going to end it here. And yeah, of course, I forgot happy birthday to Kante. Oops, sorry about that. But we will have tomorrow another show discussing the IPL. That won't be as long as this one, but yeah. So yeah, but be up money for joining, and yeah, for me this was a oops, sorry, very successful one. So yeah, I'm going to say goodbye to but first I'm going to say to shut the socials.
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks a lot to you, Hannah. It's always a pleasure to come on and do some stuff with you, especially if it's on cricket or football or anything else. And this was good fun, despite the choppy nature of both of our internet connections. So apologies to everyone who's been watching tonight, who's had to see all of that. But once again, big up to you, Hannah. And yeah, as for my socials, you can catch me on Instagram at MannyThangatherai1981. On Twitter, you can catch me at Thangatherai1981. And you can catch me here on the Coach's Corner and several other channels on YouTube. But this is really the place where you can catch me to do some stuff on cricket and talk with Hanno basically on cricket and other sports as well. It's a sport I definitely enjoy. Maybe not as much as football, but certainly something which I enjoy a great deal. And once again, like, do please subscribe to this channel and follow Hanno on Instagram and Twitter, and also on TikTok. He's got an account there too. And basically, that's just pretty much it. And I'm looking forward to making this a weekly thing and doing this as often as possible, especially with so much good cricket coming up in the coming weeks and months. This is something that I'm really happy to try and do. And long may this continue. So thanks a lot to all of you for joining in and contributing into the chat. You've made this video what it is. You make this channel what it is. Do please tune in next week to get more from Hanno and me. Until then, I'm about to skedaddle, and take care of yourselves and don't do anything that we wouldn't do.
Yeah, be up yourself, Manny. Yeah, like Manny said, follow me on my socials down there below. And don't forget to subscribe to Blue Corner. Tomorrow I will have a few streams, really. I will have one long Chelsea one. And then of course championship preview tomorrow, and of course the IPL I will be doing. And I have a new guest that's also gonna be coming on, so yeah, be up to him. Don't think he's watching now, but yeah, we have a new one, someone else to discuss with. So yeah, be up yourselves, just then. See you soon, and yeah, I'll see you in a bit. Peace out.